Ice has dropped in Macon, Georgia this time. Man, I don't know where I am day to day anymore. I did wake up this morning and for that split second of, what? Where? What's going on?
Looking on the phone in the hotel room.
Yeah, no, I realized it before that. But yeah, there was a moment of confusion about what is going on and where am I? John and I are in Macon for the Georgia High School Association state soccer championships, half of them anyway. We had 2 games last night. We have 2 tonight. We have 4 on Saturday. And then I'll be heading up on Sunday to Red Bull Arena to call the Atlanta United Red Bulls match Sunday night. And then I'll be back Monday into a somewhat normal week. There's only one game. It is in Utah, but it's on Friday. So I can figure out, like life again.
What?
Yeah, it's this thing. It happens. It's just been happening without really much input from me lately. So
Correct.
We're going to try to use this show as a way to get caught up on everything. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the show all week with different time slots, with different bits of chaos, with piece together, recappy type of shows. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate all the kind words this week. It's been a lot of fun seeing that you guys do really pay attention to when we're on and what we have to say. It's nice. Even if you disagree sometimes, and that's completely cool. We're going to get into your thoughts heading into Atlanta and Red Bulls. We'll get into some thoughts from an overreaction Thursday as well, if you got them, about Atlanta's win in Vancouver Wednesday night, and anything else in the soccer world. It's kind of fair game on Friday. Juventus is moving on from Massimiliano Allegri. Has Jose Mourinho's agent already called Juventus? I would say yes.
Yes.
I would say he might be outside with a boombox right now. So
yes, holding it up outside after he got out of his rented Jeep.
Yes, we'll see. Or Fiat, maybe. It could have a Fiat.
True. Excellent. Good point.
Yeah, Jose seems like a Fiat guy. That might take him away from taking up the job with the Colorado Rapids.
Looking so forward to that.
Jose in Colorado would have been really, really interesting. But don't think it's going to happen now. We'll see what happens. There's going to be lots of jobs available here shortly. But let's start with the Vancouver match. Since
how many wins? How many titles? 3 titles.
No. Let's start with Atlanta and Vancouver because you do have a lot of wins. A lot of wins in a row and a lot of clean sheets in a row. And doing it in different ways. And this was something that I was asked about a lot this week about where kind of, my gut reaction is about how Atlanta's doing during the streak. The thing that isn't really getting talked about is the different ways that they're winning. They've had the matches where they've dominated possession, where an opponent has dropped off and sat back. They've had matches where they just outplayed the opponent who wanted the possession. They had it, like Kansas City. But they've had a couple, and Toronto at home was one, and this one in Vancouver was another, where possession was shaded to the opposition, even though it was fairly close to 50-50. And Atlanta still really felt like they were in control of the game. That's not easy to do. It's not easy to control matches without controlling the ball. And Atlanta United's getting to that point. A lot of it is the strong defense. And it's a defense that is strong, like the best defenses that are strong. It's not a defense that's strong by bunkering. It's not a defense that's strong by playing a 6-3-1 or putting, 3 defensive midfielders in front of a line of 4. It's a defense that's strong because it's good. And whether it's Brad Gazan making a couple saves a night, which is among the fewest in the league, whether it's just not giving up quality shots, which is happening. Vancouver's XG was 0.3. Whether it's just not giving up a whole lot of shots, period. And Atlanta's among the lead leaguers there. Atlanta is just doing the thing that is in front of them game after game after game.
And, there are folks who would sit there and look at an effort by Maxime Crépeau who, if he doesn't get save of the year, I'd love to know what it's going to be. But I think in years past in the Atlanta sports psyche, you would look at an effort by Crépeau and sit there and say, okay, when is that other moment going to happen that's going to nullify everything that we've done? And for Atlanta United, it is not happening. And the fact that you're winning by getting a lot of goals on the board, by winning by, just getting and taking advantage of opportunities. Sometimes you have to win ugly. Sometimes you win, and Felipe Cardenas and I were getting into this discussion after the show yesterday. Sometimes you win with garra. And, I just have this vision of Joseph Martinez against Red Bulls last year. And sometimes it literally just, it is that idea of playing with garra and getting something done. And you're seeing Atlanta United do that in a bunch of different ways. And you still have a team that is gradually getting into the ideas of what Frank de Boer wants to do on the pitch. But when it's not all there in an evening, they're finding ways to get it done. They're finding different ways to do it. And I think that speaks a lot to the character of the roster and the togetherness that the guys are playing with, because if not everything is there in philosophy, then you just, you pick up your cliche, whichever one you want to use, and you piece it together. And the guys out there do it, and it's being done by different guys in different combinations. And I think it speaks a lot to what is assembled on not just the 18, but you're probably talking 22, 25 guys, those guys that want to get things done for Atlanta United. And I think that it's been interesting to see it develop and continue to evolve in this manner during this win streak.
Again, and we're going to get into some questions here in the first segment in just a second, but if you go back and you look at this evolution for Atlanta United over the last 3 years, think back to some of the things that Tata Martino talked about as 2018 went on in terms of limiting risk, limiting chances for the opposition, especially limiting risky chances for the opposition, not turning the ball over in bad spots, all of those types of things. Think about the way that the team played in the postseason versus how they played early in the season. And now look at the next step, because that's what we've kind of seen in 2019 is last year in the postseason, offense was secondary. It was defend, 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 sit deeper than typically Atlanta United has, defend, and look for the counter. I think some people were fooled by that because Atlanta was so good on the counter. Miguel Almiron was so electric. He's able to flip the field in a couple seconds, and you look dangerous getting out into open space. You're not relying on that now, but you're maintaining that strong defensive identity of not giving up chances. I mean, allowing right now, this team is allowing less than 9 shots per game. That's pretty ridiculous. They're right there with LAFC. Mm-hmm. Another team that, would you call LAFC defensive? No, not at all.
No.
They're the best attacking team in the league right now, and they're scoring a bushel of goals every game. But they have, tied with Atlanta, the defense that is giving up the fewest shots per game. That's why I think when people say that, Atlanta's a defensive team now, like where's my attacking Atlanta United team again? Or they need to score more goals than 1 or even 2, or the fans are going to get bored. No, stop looking for a narrative that's not there.
Yep.
Atlanta is a team that right now, and these are your current league numbers, LAFC gives up slightly fewer shots per game defensively. They have the most shots offensively. Number 2, Atlanta gives up almost the exact same amount of shots per game defensively as LAFC. and they're second in the league in shots per game offensively. There is a correlation there. Shots on target per game, if you want to say, well, Atlanta's taking a bunch of shots, but they're not taking good shots. They're sixth. They're sixth, 5.1 per game, and they actually had 6 on a Wednesday night. Now, I do agree with Bart. And Bart's overreaction Thursday, Friday take was the guys must start finishing their clear-cut chances. Wednesday was too nervy at the end for the way we played the first 60 minutes. 150%. Because when you don't finish chances, you leave the door cracked open. And the way this team played in that first 60, maybe the second 50 of the first 60, first 10 minutes, it was a bit of a feeling out process, kind of easing in, figuring out what Vancouver's going to do, and getting Merrim some touches, getting Pogba some touches, getting the new guys, kind of acclimated a bit. But beyond that, it was really good. The end, a little too nervy because you didn't put the game away. Now, they had some quality chances. Maxime Crépeau made a couple unbelievable saves in that sequence. But yeah, you got to start putting games away. It's just an easier way to live. You're getting chances. You're second in the league in shots. You're sixth in the league in shots on target. You need to have more goals to show for that. And when you look at all the quality numbers about those types of chances, when you look at XG, yeah, Atlanta's underperforming that right now. So they need to get to where they're converting more of their chances, more comfortable wins. You get a few more goals in games. I think some of this narrative nationally about well, they're kind of back. I think that changes.
Yeah. And, it was interesting to look on Twitter this morning, and, Nathan Pugh says that in the discussion on LAFC, he says, Longview, LAFC are on pace for 78 points, playing like a machine. Sidebar, I don't think they'll get 78. With everyone healthy, how would Atlanta line up against them? Color me biased. I think Atlanta could nullify their attack better than anyone else at the moment.
It'd be the starting 11. I think that right now, with what you have available, your starting 11 would be Parkhurst at the left back. I think against a strong attack like LAFC, you'd want Parkhurst, intelligence and experience at left back. I think your midfield would be Remedi, Nagbe, Barco, or Remedi, Nagbe, Pitti with Barco on the left, and those two interchanging. And on the right side, it's a bit of a question because Gressel's hit a little bit of a rough patch. Tito is bringing a lot of good things. He's not finishing chances right now. I don't think anybody else is there yet to push him. I don't think Merrim's quite there yet to push him. It'd probably be, for that one, I'd lean maybe a little more towards Tito because he gives you a little something different in that attack. And then Joseph up top. And I think you just play your game. I don't see LAFC getting a ton of goals against Atlanta United defensively right now. And I do think LAFC is more frail defensively, but their defensive numbers are so good at the moment because they're so dominant on the other side of the ball. Another question from Chris Hutchison says, regarding beating bad teams. Good teams are supposed to beat bad teams. It's what they do on the way to winning championships. Do we have the talent and soccer IQ to beat the better teams? I'd posit that we do and that we will as we encounter them. There's always a thing about, well, that win wasn't that good. Well, that wasn't that good. That team wasn't that good. Look, you can only play who's in front of you. And for me, right now, these last 3 games especially, 3 straight, and Sunday will be 4 straight, that you're playing an opponent who has more rest. That adds up. That's really difficult to do. I would love to dig into the historic MLS numbers because you don't see that happen very often. One, and it just happens that you play that many times in a row against teams that have more rest. But 2, that you have such success against them. It's not supposed to happen. Because one way that it's not supposed to happen is teams are supposed to rotate their entire squad like Orlando and Toronto has done. Didn't really pay off. Hasn't really paid off afterwards either. Toronto hasn't won since they did that. And Orlando, look, I think Nani doesn't want to play on turf. I don't know if they want to admit that, but kind of strange that he didn't come to Atlanta or Seattle with no injury that had been noted ahead of that. So just saying, and maybe, he is looking at it for the big picture. Maybe he is managing his minutes. He is coming off of a fairly long season in Portugal, so possible. But you can only beat the teams that are in front of you. Only beat the team that's across the field in that match. And Atlanta United has been doing that so far. Now, against the top teams in the league, it's going to be interesting how these matchups work out. I don't worry about Atlanta not being able to play with any of the top teams in the league, but you want to see how they perform. And Red Bulls have not been one of the top teams on the field this season in terms of results, but they're a quality team. They're really not changed outside of Tyler Adams from winning the Supporters' Shield last year. This is a big test. Fourth in a row on shorter rests than the opponent, and the Red Bulls play a style that can exploit that. So you might not consider the Red Bulls a top team this year, but I think this is a top match. And you're going to learn a lot about Atlanta United on Sunday, what they have in the tank, first off, and quality against a quality opponent.
And for me, I want to see what the 11/18 look like. Obviously, with Parkhurst and Nagby at home, they are pretty much assumed that they're going to be in the starting 11. And I want to see how it's built around those two. And I want to see if Dion Pereira is going to get more minutes. Obviously, Miles with his cameo means that he's going to start. And you're building around, okay, who can give me whatever they can give me. You saw Pogba and Shea out there, and you and I haven't had the opportunity to discuss the Dion Pereiras, the Florentine Pogbas, and all of that, but they gave you key minutes in a match where you needed to have guys who are not in your traditional starting 11 give you key minutes to kind of give everybody else some rest when they really needed it. I'm looking forward to seeing what the roster looks like. I know that the Red Bulls, I don't think the Red Bulls have recovered from Santos Laguna, and it has shown. This match, Jared has already sent in his prediction, and I'm leaving the number out, but he basically thought that the game was going to be fairly wide open and it's going to have a lot of chances for both sides. I'm on the opposite thought of that just because of Atlanta United trying to get in and get out of a situation that we'll get into actual numbers later on in the show. I don't quite think that it will be the number that he has on the board, but for me, it's going to be an interesting dynamic with Atlanta United playing a team again who has rested more than they have.
And it's just the type of opponent that is built to exploit a tired team. And that's the concern for me is that, okay, Atlanta really has to dominate possession here. They really have to dominate this match and not let New York's press be the dominating factor. And you're going to have to be very sharp to do that. It's going to be a challenge. It's doable. And the team that has been built for 2019 is built to handle these types of games. I think the way that Frank de Boer wants this team to play is that they can go in and they can play their game for that day against anybody in the league and not have to have dramatic changes. And that's something I want to point out before we go to break. In the matches like Toronto and Vancouver where you didn't dominate possession, the team didn't play differently for that to happen. It wasn't like they decided to sit back against either one of those opponents. It's just the way that match played out. Toronto's a team that generally has a lot of possession. Vancouver was interesting because the more they had the ball, the less they really knew what to do with it. So it becomes a smart play. If you're Atlanta, you don't have to do quite as much. And yeah, it's a long trip. It's a tough one. But I don't think tactically you came in to bunker, for example, to sit back and concede it. It's the way that match played out and Atlanta adjusted. I think the in-game adjustments, the in-game tweaks, and back to that soccer IQ, I think they can handle these things. And I think they're building up that base of knowledge to be able to do it. Sunday will be a really good test. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Atlanta handles the New York Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena Sunday. Let's take a break, come back, get into more of your questions. We'll also get caught up on everything that's happened this week around the league right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, May 17th. Hopefully no fire alarms get pulled here in Macon, Georgia.
Fire alarms down here.
Yeah. Wow. So just to break the fourth wall a bit, yesterday, I'll give you a recap of my day. We went to the stadium in Vancouver at 6:30 Eastern time. Yeah, it would have been about 6:30 Eastern time, about 3:30 Pacific for the 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. I'll stay on Eastern time now. So game was at 10, ended about 12. We took off from Vancouver at around 2 o'clock and landed at 6:30, 6:45, somewhere in that ballpark. I tried really hard to sleep on the plane. I don't sleep on planes very well at all. I might have fallen asleep for a few minutes. I might have just meditated. I don't know. Like real sleep didn't happen. Yeah, it was just, no, it just wasn't happening.
See, that's where you and I are different. I go to sleep in the pre-flight instructions on a plane.
Yeah, I wish I can't. So get home after going through customs and all of that. Get home, have about 45 minutes or so to kill before I'm on 92.9 with Hugh and John. Do that one at 9:20 and immediately go collapse into bed for 2 hours. Sleep for a couple hours, get up, unpack and repack, and then get in the car and drive to Macon. Get here in time to check into the hotel, throw the bag down, change clothes, and then go to Five Star Stadium for the first day of the GHSA finals. And Class A public, the local team, Ace, the Griffins, they won their first ever state championship in the girls' final. Started at 5 o'clock. Boys' final starts, and my play-by-play partner starts talking about the lightning he's seeing off in the distance and completely jinxes it for everybody because we have a lightning delay in the second half.
I waited until the gentleman in the yellow kits pointed at it before I said anything.
They were pointing at lots of things, so I don't know if you can really take anything from that. And we're talking about the referees, yes.
Yeah, the fourth official and the side AR on our side were pointing off in the distance, and then I laid off until that moment.
Yeah, well, the lightning did not lay off. So second half, after all of that crazy day, we have a lightning delay. It's 1-0 for Lake Oconee Academy at that point against GMC Prep. 4 minutes left in the game, GMC Prep equalizes, so we've got extra time. We did not have penalties, though. It was a great winner for GMC Prep. They win 2-1. Crazy ending with really strange referee decisions. There's weird things between high school rules and FIFA rules because you're dealing with a running clock and stopping it and stuff like that. It was very poorly handled. I thought Lake Oconee Academy should have had one more opportunity on a free kick. They didn't get it. GMC Prep wins it. It was actually a pretty fun game. It was very back and forth, very hectic. But it ended at what? What time did we get out of there?
10:30.
Yeah. It was more like 10:30.
We got out of there at 10:30.
It was a long day. It was a very long day. 3 games on opposite sides of the continent in just over 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then I slept for about 8 hours.
And then someone got to the hotel and proceeded not to stay awake for a very long period of time after.
Yeah, just a little bit. But then I slept as late as I have in quite a while and got up and I'm now talking to all of you. So it's been hectic. We got 2 games today and then 4 tomorrow and then fly to Red Bull Arena on Sunday. So with all that said, with that schedule going on, we're going to get caught up, and I'm going to get caught up as much as anybody here on what's been happening around MLS this week. Last night, FC Dallas went out to LAFC and lost 2-0. Dallas is struggling a bit, and they're really struggling a bit in the attack. Big win for LAFC, and they get to try to repeat it this weekend in Frisco in the weird home-and-home setup that LAFC and Dallas are doing this week. Didn't get a chance to dig into it too much, but LAFC they're flying right now.
And, when you look at a healthy Mark Anthony Kaye, you look at Atuesta, you look at Carlos Vela, captain fantasy this week. Thank you very much. Fantasy update later on in the show. And you look at a Latif Blessing, and you see how, and Diego Rossi, and the names continue to roll off for you. And their goals per game average and points per game average right now is through the roof. I don't think they'll keep it up for an entire season, both offensively and when it comes to a points per game average. They're a fun team to watch, and when things are going well for them, I mean, it is a fun group to look at. And for a second-year team, Bob Bradley has continued to develop things and put his stamp on it. And I just want to see how long they think they can keep this up. And when you hit that rough patch, how you respond to it. I want to see him win big games on the road consistently, because at Bank of California, being in front of the 3252, it is, it's a fun place to play, and they really do light it up. But I still have more longer term thoughts about LAFC, about goals and keeping it up and what they're doing right now. But so far, fun team to watch, no doubt.
You had some referee controversy as well, and a lot of discussion about the AR and the flag and offside and delay, and all of these things. You saw a situation here that was different than what we've talked about in the last week, with the AR putting the flag up at the moment of an offside. The whistle was not blown, play continued, and the goal was scored. It was not ruled on the field, but the flag went up instead of being delayed. So I've seen this said, and even in the MLS recap, and this is something with the language that I know is confusing to you guys. So in the recap, it says Diego Rossi scored a late insurance tally for LAFC, set up by Adama Diomande, but the goal was initially waved off for offside in the buildup. Waved off isn't even a term. The whistle blows. The flag can wave. The guy can jump up and down and pop the flag and do all that. It doesn't stop play. So you can't wave a play off. The flag went up. Whistle was not blown. Play continued. Goal was scored. It was checked, as every goal that's scored is, and it was deemed to be onside. So there's nothing waved off. That needs to be understood. That terminology, and this is something that has to get better because it is so confusing to people. If I read that, I would think that, man, Dallas really got hosed here because the goal was called off, which in my interpretation would be whistle was blown, but then they allowed it to stand. You can't do that. It's not what happened. But to me, it shows why the instruction, the directive, is to delay putting the flag up, put it up at the end of the scoring chance to say, yes, I think there's an offside here. And then they go check it, knowing that the AR thought there was an offside there. When you do this, because of the way players have played over the years, when you put that flag up, players might hesitate. Now, I don't think they did in this case. I don't think there's really anything for Dallas to complain about, but it's the optics of it. You don't want to see a player stop because they see the flag go up. The new directive is to play to the conclusion of it. And I think in Vancouver, actually, and I'd love to dig back into this with a referee at this level and have the conversation. I think in Vancouver, they did something that I know has been mentioned a couple of times when we've had these conversations about flag up and delay and all that. I think they kept the flag down on a play because it looked like it could be a scoring chance. It wasn't. And then they came back and gave the offside when the play finished because it finished real quickly. They came back and gave the free kick for the team that would have been aggrieved here in the situation about the player being offside, which we hadn't really seen. It had almost been like, okay, well, it gives immunity if it might be a scoring play and the flag going up is delayed. I thought that was really well handled and one of maybe the only things that was really well handled from the referee perspective in Vancouver. And I'm not sure they did it that way either. So I'm trying to find a benefit of the doubt for them.
Right. And I think that, to your point, I think that terminology and things have to be, they have to be all of a singular thought pattern. Because to your point, it's if you say something's waved off, that's not correct. But when it's presented in that manner, it sends you down a rabbit hole that's incorrect when it comes to trying to figure out an event and a sequence. And so I think it's something that we all have to be better at when it comes to describing something going down. And to your point, I'm glad you brought this up, that this notion of a terminology.
It's a big issue when the terminology is not consistent and when it is misleading.
Yeah, and for me, that's something that we all have to be more diligent about. I know I have to be more diligent about my terminology when it comes to things, because there are a lot of times when I will say something and I will mean something different, and because I say something in a certain way, it's the wrong interpretation or the wrong laying out of a fact when it comes to the sport. And it's something I know that I have to be more diligent about too.
Yeah, this is something I really would like the league and pro to define a little bit better as to, okay, the way it was written there is incorrect, and that's coming from the league website and the write-up on the league website. Now, I know you get into complications between league media, league editorial, all that, yes, obviously, but I'm just talking about the terminology. This is on the league website. You want to read the recap. They're saying a goal was waved off. It wasn't waved off. It was never waved off. So how do we want to define these things now? And that's what I'd hope that Pro and MLS can work together on that. So everybody is using the same language and then everybody understands it better, because this is going to take some time. Let's look at the rest of the results from the week. Toronto, DC, scoreless draw. Game was delayed a little bit due to weather. That's what pushed our kick in Vancouver back just a little bit, thanks to national coverage on TSN for both. It's delayed by about 10, 15 minutes. Bill Hamid with a big night for DC United, but Toronto has not really found their groove in quite a while.
And you just look at it and you're going, you wonder what's going to turn it around. And right now, I don't know. And it's just, it's one of those questions that you're looking for answers. And, you look at Toronto this weekend, they're playing RSL, and you look at DC and they've got Houston. So you look at Toronto, and I think that Toronto's probably going to have the better weekend, because if the Houston team shows up that we know can cause some problems, it's going to be an interesting and a longer weekend for DC than it will be for Toronto FC.
1-3-1 in their last 5 for Toronto. They did get Drew Moore back into the lineup on Wednesday. They did not get Josie Altidore in the starting lineup or on the field. Everything else was pretty much their first choice group. Now, Toronto had 71% of the possession. They had 36 shots. Yes, 36.
Wow.
13 on target. So that's Bill Hamid making 13 saves in this one. Hamid was ridiculous, but talk about finishing chances. Jordan Hamilton had 9 shots on the day, 4 on target. Couldn't find the back of the net. Pozuelo with 2 on target. Delgado with 2 on target. Alro with 2 on target. Toronto 1-3-1 in their last 5. That's surprising with where they looked like they were headed before, and getting Drew Moore back and still like that. Well, we'll see what happens for them this weekend. They go to Real Salt Lake. Other results from the week, that was Houston 1-1 with Portland. Brian Fernandez made his debut in a big way for the Timbers. Gets the equalizing goal late in the second half. And Portland pulls another result on the road on this long, extended road trip. Have not played a home game yet. They're 3-6-2 away from home so far this season. I think they won 4 games on the road last year, period.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good for where they are in the table, even though they're level with the 6th place team on points. But I think Portland's actually just fine for 2019.
No, I agree with you. I mean, think about Atlanta United, think about DC United, and now you have this year's example with Portland. I honestly think that they'll make the playoffs because of that stretch of games at home at the end when you need them, and the idea of getting to sleep in your own bed, to just kind of trot over to practice and have that be a long routine for you at the end of the season. I think that that's going to be huge for Giovanni Savarese and everybody there in Portland. I think they make the playoffs, and the fact that they went into Ohio and seemed to have fathered the Ohio teams on this road trip. I think they've turned a corner, and no one's there to take their wallet. I think that this is a good thing. No one's going to take their shopping bags after they've turned the corner and they're walking down the sidewalk now. I think that Portland has a lot that they can take from this rather longer than long road trip, and getting that shared result in Houston is just another part of it.
If Ebobisse can continue to be solid up top, and you don't need him to be a whole lot more than that, with Fernandez, Valeri, Blanco behind them, and Diego Chara holding things down in front of the back 4, that's about as good as it gets. The Timbers are going to be a problem as the year goes on. Seattle is going to be a problem as the year goes on. They get a 2-1 win over Orlando. A little more heartburn than they probably would have liked. Chris Mueller got one in the 75th minute off the bench to pull it to 2-1. Orlando couldn't find another one. Orlando rotated their lineup even more from what they brought to Atlanta. It was Benji Michel. It was Josue Colman getting his first start of the season. It was Santiago Patino up top with Wire on the bench. Fleston got a start. He hasn't been starting in a while. Dylan Powers came out of nowhere and played. I don't know. I don't know what James O'Connor's up to. And it's a good result in terms of they battled and they got a 2-1 on the road against Seattle, and they got a 1-0 in Atlanta. It's like, ooh, they're close. I don't really feel like they're close. I feel like the numbers it definitely lead you to get wrong conclusions about Orlando. So 2 losses this week for the Lions. We'll see what they have coming up this weekend. Anything else jump out to you from the midweek action in MLS?
Midweek action, I think you kind of went over a lot of things when it came to what went down for me in the midweek. But the one thing that I think surprised me in the midweek was a transaction that happened while we were hip deep in everything with the high school ranks.
Okay, you want to explain
David Accam traded again, but this time to Nashville in 2020.
Okay. Do you want to continue to explain it as to why your feelings are what they are?
No, it's just the fact that you're traded again, but I like that Nashville has added this piece. I think, I'm trying to figure out who would be the baseball equivalent of David Accam at this rate, but he just seems to be a guy who's traded, then traded, then traded. But I like what Nashville did in picking up that piece and to add to the players that they've brought on for this season in the USL Championship. But now that David Accam is going to be a part of it, I think that this is, it gives him hopefully that new lease that I'm sure he's looking for, and it gives Nashville a player that they can hang their hat on.
Well, a couple of things to clarify. First off, the trade doesn't take effect until January 1st, 2020. David Accam is playing for Columbus for the rest of the 2019 season. So the way the financials worked, Columbus sent a total of $500,000 and in allocation money and an international spot to Philadelphia to get David Accam. Now, Nashville will be sending $450,000 in allocation money. So $350,000 in GAM, $100,000 in TAM, no international slot. So essentially the Crew for the remainder of the 2019 season are paying $50,000 in allocation money and an international slot to get David Accam for this year.
Yep.
It's not a bad rental.
No.
I would assume that this was all worked out ahead of the first move. I don't think it was we make this trade and then, okay. That's an assumption. If it didn't happen that way, might have just been too good of a deal for Columbus to pass up, for Nashville to give that up when Nashville thought they might be able to pull it off. I'm going to guess that this was a long-term play, 3-team deal essentially, and we're getting the second piece of it here. So Accam is the 4th player on Nashville's inaugural MLS roster right now, joining Daniel Rios, who was signed from Chivas de Guadalajara. He played on loan with North Carolina last year. He's playing with their USL team right now. Cameron Lancaster, who's been one of the leading scorers in USL over the last few years with Louisville City. He's with Nashville right now in USL. Derek Jones, who they got from Philadelphia in a trade. He's on the MLS roster. He's playing in USL Championship right now. Accam's number 4, but he's playing the rest of the 2019 season with the Columbus Crew. Interesting, but yeah, I'm thinking this was the plan all along.
Quoting Nashville GM Mike Jacobs in a thoughtfully prepared paragraph. The 2019 season's a one-year runway for us to prepare for the 2020 MLS season, and our staff has been really thoughtful about how our roster will be constructed. The idea of adding players is not necessarily about simply finding good players, but rather about finding players that are good for Nashville. The scouting and recruiting of prospects has been really diligent, and our staff have been very strategic about identifying players that we believe will enable us to pursue excellence, end quote.
Yeah, I think it's a good addition for Nashville. And Nakam, he's got a year to basically continue putting the pieces back together. He had some injuries, but he also just had a bad start over in Philadelphia last year. It was not very productive until the end, and be curious to see what he can do the rest of this season for the Crew on that rental deal, and then moving over to Nashville in 2020. Let's take a break. We'll come back and wrap up hour number 1 with some of your questions and also some more thoughts from around the league right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus, and Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, May 17th, getting ready for Atlanta United and the New York Red Bulls this weekend. Bruce Arena was introduced to the media yesterday, and anytime Bruce Arena has a microphone in front of him, he's going to say some things that get people riled up. I did not expect to see Bruce Arena say anything about Atlanta United that would get people riled up, but he did. Do you have the direct quote in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. What did Bruce Arena say involving Atlanta United in his press conference to be introduced as the new sporting director and manager of the New England Revolution yesterday?
Quote, I don't think any club in the league needs to spend the way Atlanta spends. You can be successful without being the top spender in the league.
Okay, you had a problem with that. Explain your problem first off.
There's a different way. There are different ways to pursue what you want to pursue. Atlanta's model isn't just spend. It is invest, have another team come in, pay you a transfer fee, take that money and reinvest. But of course, there is, to do something like this, there is a bit of an upfront. I mean, you have to sit there and identify the guys that you want to bring in. And when you bring in a Joseph Martinez, when you bring in a Miguel Almiron, you're going to spend. And with the model that Atlanta United has, if I'm not mistaken, what you want to do when you make that initial investment of outlay, you're trying to recoup, if not get more of your investment, so you can continue the cycle of invest, bring a player in, hopefully have him transferred for more, take that money, reinvest it, and so on and so forth. This to me isn't just spending. To me, It's spending, reinvesting, and doing it that way. It's a cycle where earlier versions of MLS, see Galaxy, Los Angeles, you brought in David Beckham. You brought in players, Robbie Keane. You bring in these names, and I don't necessarily think that the Galaxy were looking at it as something where we'll bring them in, we'll sell them off, we'll take that money, we'll reinvest. That to me was bring in players with massive outlay. If we break even, great. If we operate at a loss, then for me, if I'm the Galaxy, I don't care because I'm putting butts in seats. It seems like Arena isn't either understanding or recognizing the business model and ignoring what was done in Los Angeles to get that team to MLS Cup finals. The Revs right now, they're investing a little bit, but I imagine that the team is operating either at a loss or as a write-off for Robert Kraft, considering what they're doing or what they're not doing to the extent of everybody else.
Look, the league was in a different place when the Galaxy were bringing in Beckham and Keane and players like that didn't have resale value. So I'm not going to compare to say that, well, they spent money and he can't say anything because of that and blah, blah. I'm not going to go there because it was a different league at that point, especially when Beckham came. I mean, he was the first one to come. You had to do that first. You weren't going to be able to convince an Ezequiel Barco to come for $15 million if you don't make that first move 10, 12 years prior to bring in David Beckham and start raising the profile of the league. So that's apples and oranges. Give me his quote one more time.
Okay. I don't think any club in the league needs to spend the way Atlanta spends. You can be successful without being the top spender in the league.
Last part's 100% true. The last part is absolutely true. You can be successful without spending the most. We've seen it in every league in the world, every sport in the world. That's, yes, exactly true. The first part, I don't think any club needs to spend like Atlanta United spends. You take the full thing in context, okay, I see what he's saying. You can spend less and still be as successful. Yeah, you can. Yeah. The more you spend, the more opportunities you have, especially if you miss on player X or Y, you can go get player Z and make up for it. If you're not spending as much, you miss on player X, you're screwed. That's one thing that it does. Two, I think everything you said about you're building a model that is bringing in talent and in developing it, then moving it on and bringing more money into the club and then reinvesting that and continuing the cycle. That's 100% true. I don't like when clubs start talking about other clubs' spending habits, strategies, etc., because it's none of their business. You don't talk about what, your friend or your coworker is doing with their salary, with their money. You don't go talk publicly about that because you don't know all of the things going into it. Bruce Arena is not in the Atlanta boardroom. He doesn't know what's being said there and what their strategy is and what they're doing. He should have seen what happened with Miguel Almiron and gotten a hint of it. But I think he's trying to take some of the heat off of the thing about New England doesn't spend. One, I think they're going to. I think they're going to spend more. I don't know if they're going to spend Atlanta money, Toronto money, but they're going to spend more because I don't think Arena takes that job if they don't commit to it. But yeah, he's trying to deflect. And Bruce Arena is a smart man, especially when he plays the media like a fiddle. That was probably one of the first things that he wrote down that he wanted to say to set the tone for what he's going to do as sporting director. The Revolution are not going to throw money around, but they're going to look to build a top-notch team. And he's saying, look, you don't have to spend money like that to be a top team. And he's right. He's right. You don't have as many cards to play when you do that. You got to hit on things when you do that. But you can build a top team that way. Absolutely. So I think he's playing the game and he's playing the media.
In the article that was put out by the league about the press conference from Jason York, York makes the point that in his Los Angeles Galaxy teams from 2011 to 2016, they were never lower than third in MLS players' salaries, spent an average of $14.2 million per season, according to figures provided by the MLS Players Association. Conversely, the most the Revs spent during that same time was the just under $8 million in 2014 when they acquired Jermaine Jones and lost to the Galaxy in the MLS Cup final.
Different time. I mean, you weren't going to be able to get the type of returns, so you weren't buying players thinking about returns at that point. People said that Atlanta deciding to go get Miguel Almiron and spend what they did, thinking that they were going to be able to make the type of return that they did, people thought that was crazy. Well, now the model's proven. The model on developing an Alphonso Davies and selling him is proven now. It's not proven completely 100%, but at least teams now have something to point to in the negotiating table. Swick is with you. He says they're not just spending to win. Miguel Almiron's a perfect example of that. Paid $9 million for a rising star, sold him after 2 years for $2.5 what we paid. Barco and Pitti are fully expected to do the same. I would say, hold on. You can't say they're expected to do 2.5 what you spent on them. That part is unpredictable. But are they expected to bring a return? Barco, definitely. And when you're named as one of the top U21 players in the world, that's going to help you get a big return. So Barco, yeah, when that time comes, probably going to be a big check. Pitti's a little bit older. Pitti's a little different. Could happen. Might not happen. Might get a little bit of a return, but that doesn't mean it's a failure. So when you say that they're not just spending to win, they are spending to win. It's not the only thing they're doing. They are thinking about, we're going to spend on good players that will win games and win trophies. However, when the time is right and the return is right, we will move on and we will reinvest. It's not always going to be 2.5 or twice or whatever, because I don't think Pitti's going to bring that because of the age. But I think Pitti bringing him in can help you win trophies. And I think he can bring you a return on your investment. And that's what goes into it. But spending to win, that's not a bad thing either. I mean, what Toronto's done, there's nothing wrong with that. They have the money to spend. They did a treble. Nobody's ever done it. I'm not mad at them for it. It's not a bad thing. I want American soccer to get off of this thing about we can't spend money because the North American Soccer League. Or we can't spend money because the bubble might burst. Stop. It's not bursting. If ownership wants to spend money, if somebody wants to go buy Cristiano Ronaldo tomorrow and spend that money to do it, now I would probably not want the PR headaches with it, but if you want to go buy that player and there's no potential return on it, but he's going to win you every trophy possible, do it. Do it. If you've got the money to do it and you're not going to put your business at risk, do it. It's okay. So, Bruce Arena, focus on your team. I know what you're trying to do. I get it. But build what the Revolution are going to do, because you've got some work to do. I think you've got more pieces than some think, but you've got some work to do, and it's going to take a little bit of time. We'll see how Bruce does in New England, and we will look at some other things around the league in hour number 2. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, SDH, May 17th. If you are not following Mike Conti 929, you should do so. He's not able to join us this morning. He is traveling. He's getting up to New York a little early with the wife, but he did share a nice little nugget with you. The Inside Video Review program is up on Pro Referee's YouTube page, and they go inside the VAR room as the goal from Gressel was overturned last Sunday. I will be checking that out in the next break, but we've already had a couple people check it out. And yes, I do agree with G-Rod. The communication seems a little dated. The ARs are not located in space. It is not the same technology that Mission Control used to speak to the Apollo missions on the moon, but it sounds kind of similar.
Roger that, AR.
Yeah. Now, there is a thing that Jason Wright, the commissioner of our fantasy league, did say. They were using the lines on the field. And Jason says, except the lines on the field are not straight or perpendicular to the sidelines. They usually are. So if they weren't in this case, that would be something I didn't notice. Jason said Mercedes-Benz Stadium should either make sure lines are straight if pro referees are going to use them, or they can't use them as a visual standard. I think we're looking for a bit of a red herring here. Like, I thought he was off from the angles I've seen since. I didn't see anything on the day to give me that sense, because we don't get to see like any of this type of stuff. We don't get any communication given to us. I think PA announcers are starting to get communication, which is good. But, you know, your friendly radio teams would like to have some communication, too, about decisions. We're having to figure it out on the fly. And we do our best, and sometimes we see it, and sometimes we get it, and sometimes we don't. But this was one that figured out pretty quick that it was not Gressel they were looking at, it was Villalba, and that it was close. We've seen some stills that, I mean, it's a step. It's really close. That's all I got. I'm going to watch the video in the next break, though.
But no, it's I like it when leagues will give you behind the scenes access, and they won't wait until it's in a documentary or a video series like a season later as a part of a recap or something.
They're doing this weekly. It's great.
Yeah, you get this kind of immediate return on things that are going on, so you can kind of pull back the curtain and see what's going on behind the fourth wall. And because if you see something and you're sitting there and you're confused by it, then the league is proactive in letting you see, okay, here was the thought process involved in doing something the way that they did.
Yeah, I want the league to continue to be more transparent, just like they're doing this. This is good. Get the language right around the stuff we talked about earlier with that LAFC goal. Let's keep moving it forward here. I I hope that it can continue to go in the right direction. I'm really glad that Pro is doing this because I'm learning from it. I'm learning about the way things operate. So then that's going to make me be able to explain it better in the motion and in the flow of the match. So that's what I'm trying to get to. And I hope they continue to do more because it is new. And the way that these types of things are handled, it's different than it used to be. So it does take a little getting used to.
John on Twitter this morning is asking, I guess, as a spinoff of the arena conversation. And he's like, so we have money to spend on a left back.
No, you don't want to spend money on a left back because you have George Bello. And what's the problem with left back right now? Like, seriously, 5 straight clean sheets. There's not a big problem at left back. Breck Shea was really good on Wednesday, y'all. I hope he's getting the credit that he deserves for that. I thought it was his best match of the season for Atlanta on Wednesday in Vancouver. I thought Breck was very, very good. I don't know why there is such animosity about Breck Shea at this point. I really don't get it. I mean, is he the best left back in the league? No, he's not. You didn't sign him to be that either. I think there are assumptions about what type of salary he used to make. And maybe that plays into it. Maybe there's assumptions about, well, he was supposed to be the greatest American soccer player of all time, and he's not, so we don't like that. It's not fair either. I think Breck Shea was brought here to do a job. He's doing more of a job than was expected. And when he has a good night, he has a good night. Give him that credit. I thought he was very good on Wednesday, and I don't have a problem when Breck Shea is on the field. I'm not like sitting there terrified that something bad is about to happen. But when you talk about spending at left back, look, you have the best young prospect at left back in the country, George Bello. Doesn't mean he turns out to be the best left back ever, but you have him. He's had groin injuries. You've had a surgical procedure to correct it. You're not going to go spend a bunch of money on a left back and then block George Bello.
No.
Not going to happen. So you're going to get through what you need to get through right now with Breck Shea, with a returning Mikey Ambrose, who was in the 18 on Wednesday, and Michael Parkhurst, who has been fine at left back as well. You're going to be okay. And you've been really good, so there's really not much to complain about defensively. But you're not going to spend. I completely disagree that you're going to go get a left back right now.
So then I guess the question is, when do you want to start looking at the 18 and the 11 for the upcoming weekend?
Well, I mean, we can start talking about it now. Parkhurst and Nagbe will be back in it, obviously.
Right.
With their time off.
I was going to say that on the left, is it Parkhurst and Mikey on the left with Gallagher, or is Mikey on the right with Gallagher and Shea giving you possible minutes and Pogba giving you possible minutes somewhere in the center?
You start with the 11. You don't make it overly complicated. Yeah. You start with the 11, and I think it's Michael Parkhurst at left back, and I think it's Franco Escobar at right back. I think Miles Robinson and Leandro Gonzalez-Perez are in the middle. Nagbe is in with either Jeff or Remedi. I'm comfortable with either. I'd probably lean a little more towards Jeff here. Remedi can get a little bit of that break, and he's available off the bench. And then your front four is Pitti, it's Tito, I think it's Gressel, and I think it's Joseph up top. I think you're thinking about possession here. You're thinking about passing. You want your strongest passers on the field because you know you're going to get pressed. You want guys who are not going to turn the ball over in bad spots. That's why Parkhurst gets to left back. He is a better passer than Breck Shea and Mikey Ambrose out of that spot. You want him there. You want Nagbe on the field no matter what. I trust Jeff with the ball a little more than Remedi, although I could probably flip a coin there. I just think with the minutes Remedi's played and Jeff's strong passing, I'd probably want to start with him and protect the back two, the two center backs. That's where my gut is about the lineup. I think when you're looking beyond that, you get Mikey, you get Breck as options on the left side. You're not going to leave either one at home, I don't think. Because remember, Breck Shea can move into the left wing as well. We've seen him play there late in games. And that's another little underrated thing that hasn't been talked about. There's this weird narrative that started, and I think it started with the English media at Crystal Palace, about a lack of flexibility with Frank de Boer. Pay attention to what some of these things that he's doing. When he was in the 3-4-3 and he started to transition to the 4-3-3, you saw moves in games that were leading you to believe, okay, this is where we're going, this is where we're going, okay, we're making tweaks, got it, cool. In games, you're seeing tweaks. One tweak that he has done multiple times that I really like is bringing Breck Shea in off the bench on the left wing late in a game where you're trying to see it out. It can kind of give you another defender and kind of give you a little bit of a five-man back line, because Breck is comfortable dropping in and defending deep on the left side. He's also comfortable playing as a left winger, getting forward when he needs to. Late in a game, that's a nice card to pull. That's a really nice card to have. So I think Breck is there in the 18. I think Mikey's there in the 18. You could see Breck come on late as a left winger if you're trying to see out a lead where he can drop pretty deep if he needs to. Beyond that, it's just going to be who can give you things off the bench. Dion Pereira, another good performance off the bench in Vancouver. Would expect him to be back. Gallagher's been consistently in the 18, so I wouldn't expect that to change. I'm not expecting major changes. I think it's Parkhurst and Nagbe back into the lineup is the biggest thing here.
And yeah, that was the bench was one of the things that, once again, I didn't have the opportunity to discuss with you on the air in seeing a Dion Pereira getting extended minutes. And Felipe Jarrett and I got to talk about it on the show yesterday. And the faith that Frank is showing in a Dion Pereira to continue to give him longer and longer stretches out there right now. I hadn't had the opportunity to talk to you in depth about what we're seeing with Dion over this last little bit.
It's not just faith, it's preparation. It's how you bring young players along. When they show that they have earned it and they're ready for that time, you give them a taste. Okay, they're ready for a little bit more. Here's a bigger bite. Can you handle that? Too spicy for you? Okay, we're going to back you down a little bit. Oh, no, you're good. You can handle that? Okay, here's a little more. Here's another hot pepper on top. You ready? Yeah? Okay. We're going to keep going with you and keep getting you those minutes. It's preparation. It's very calculated. And Pereira has been stepping up to the mark every time. He's been doing things on both sides of the ball that I'm impressed with, because ball at his feet, I'm not worried about him. Going 1v1 at defenders late in games, not worried about him at all. He's going to win some, he's going to lose some, but he's going to win more than he loses, and he's a dangerous player that can make things happen. Can he give you a complete performance? I had questions. What we're seeing right now, he's answering a lot of them. It's really good. Is he ready for a start yet? Maybe not. But Open Cup's around the corner. You would like to have Dion Pereira hitting his stride in the Open Cup, where you are going to be missing some pieces. And that's a great opportunity for him to deliver on all of this preparation right now of getting minutes, little more minutes. Open Cup, he's going to be ready to give you a big performance there, and he's going to need to.
Swickster, back on the Vancouver match, he said, agreed that Breck had his best game so far, but I guarantee there was a huge chip on his shoulder, optimistic for maintaining his form on Sunday.
I don't think there was a huge chip on his shoulder. I don't know if Breck gets huge chips on his shoulder, to be honest. He didn't care for being booed by the crowd, which I thought was pretty sorry, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think Breck Shea did anything to deserve that type of reaction in Vancouver. I do not get, and it's not just an Atlanta thing. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Did Breck Shea become the greatest player in American soccer? No. How many times has that happened? All the time. It happens. Players come through, look great. I think the biggest mistake in Brek Shea's career was going to England and going to Stoke City when he did. It wasn't the right time for him, and it was definitely not the right club for him. And that slowed down his development. And it's bad for U.S. soccer. It's bad for him because I think he could have been more. But I don't think it's I don't think he's a lazy player. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think there's any of that. I think Brek Shea comes in and does the job that he's called upon to do, and he's done it just fine. Is every cross perfect? No.
Jeremy York. No.
It's all good.
Jeremy York and the folks at Impact have an on-par reaction.
Okay.
That United did what was needed versus Vancouver, and the streak continues. Some incredible runs and chances. Just imagine when those start to find the net. Look out, MLS, exclamation point. His prediction, and for everybody, don't forget to go to the Bailey Daily at JBailey86 on Twitter. Vote in the Bailey Daily poll. He's saying Atlanta 2-0 over the Red Bulls. Joseph and Eric Remedi have a good time at the game, guys. Good luck on the call.
I think Atlanta did more than just what they needed to do against Vancouver. I think they controlled that game for the overwhelming majority. They needed the second goal to put it away. They had the chances to do it. They had good chances to do it. They didn't do that. That's your negative coming out of it, is they didn't get goal number 2. Beyond that, they played well. I mean, I think it was more when I say they did what they needed to do about a match, to me, that's more of they weren't that good. They didn't really come in and try to impose themselves on the match, but they got out of there with a result. That's the way that feels to me, and that's not how Atlanta-Vancouver felt to me. I thought Atlanta played really, really well. The second goal would have been what the match deserved, in my opinion. They didn't get it, so they had to grind more at the end to see it out. They did. Brad had to make a couple saves. Really nothing massive. It's a good win, and it's a good performance.
Mark Earhart asks, it looked like Toledo paused a Vancouver free kick to tell half the team they were offside. Did you all see that? Am I crazy?
I saw that, and I have no idea what was going on with that. I mean, I would hope he didn't go to tell them they were offside because I hope they knew that. I mean, everything was by design on that. It was the most exaggerated situation like that I've seen. On free kicks from that type of space, a lot of times you will see Joseph Martinez offside, for example, because what he's counting on is as the kick is about to be taken, the defense drops to defend. This one was so exaggerated because Atlanta played such a high line, was determined to keep it. Vancouver had 5 guys that were in an offside position, but they didn't play it there. When you go back and look at what Vancouver did with it after Baldomero Toledo, I guess, was confused because I don't know why he's giving tactical advice or what. I have no idea what the conversation was.
You go here.
Vancouver played it square to the other side. So if you're looking at it from a referee perspective, they didn't play it towards players in an offside position, so they're not involved in the play. So there's no concern there. They played it square and then just did nothing with it. If they had played it square and then Atlanta's back line, even if one guy is out of sync and drops before a ball is played by that player across the field, it works really well for Vancouver. I see what they were thinking of. They just didn't pull it off, and it was just such a weird look.
It's the swinging gate of free kick.
Kind of is what you're looking for there. Kind of, but it didn't come off.
Tafka with a question, and by all indications, I'll give my answer after I read the question. He says, big question, does Pogba and Robinson showing well give Atlanta the freedom to sell LGP in the winter if the right offer comes? I don't think LGP has shown a desire to leave, really, or any team coming in to want to grab him. I think that he's happy here.
Well, you're saying two different things at the same time. I think he's happy here. Desire to leave and the right offer coming in are two different things. I don't know if there's any desire to leave, but if the right offer comes, that's a different conversation. Did Do they have the freedom to do it? Yeah, they do. And it's not really Pogba. I don't know if Pogba factors into that decision. Miles's development, yeah, you've got a top center back in Miles Robinson, flat out. You do have to think about Michael Parkhurst. Probably, I mean, he hasn't said anything, and his form, honestly, I don't think he's done yet. I don't know when he's going to be done, but I don't think he's done yet. Is he going to be able to do this again in 2020? We'll have to wait and see as the year goes on. But George Campbell coming through in the academy, playing a lot of minutes in the USL Championship. Is he going to be ready in 2020? It's possible. It's possible he goes to college and plays as well. So he's kind of in between. Wesley Dacus, who is on loan with ATL UTD2, I think he's an MLS level defender. I think it's a center back. Is that 2020? I don't know. But you also have the flexibility. Okay, can Florentine Pogba turn into that? He can. He's an older player. So, I mean, it's a different thought process. But is he going to be able to give you 34 starts and the level of performance that LGP has? It's not there yet. One game is one game. So hold the phone there in terms of an overreaction Friday on the transfer side of things. But can he be part of that mix? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can also then still reinvest money that you get out of a move and then bring in a different center back too. So what it comes down to is, as we saw this year, going into this year, that was going into year 3. Going into year 4, you're going to have even more situations with contracts coming up. There was talk at one point about LGP coming to the end of his deal. I'm assuming there might be an option there. I think Gressel has options on his deal going forward. Atlanta United's not going to want to let anybody walk on a free. And I don't think I don't think they're going to turn down bad offers, because they have the confidence in the fact that this is a good business deal. We're set up to be able to, one, lose the player, whichever player it is. We're set up to be able to do that because we have players coming through, or we have players in the team who are ready for a bigger chunk of responsibility. And two, we can go out into the marketplace and reinvest either in a player to step in right now or a player who will come in and develop and become that player in a couple of years. So I don't think there's really anybody that is untouchable if the right offer comes in. And the right offer might be a bigger bar for certain players. Like, to be the right offer, in air quotes, for some it might have to be really, really good. You know what I mean? So, but I don't think there's anybody that's untouchable. So, yeah, in the bigger sense of it, Tofka, yes, it does. But I don't know if Pogba's performance in one game changes that. I think Miles Robinson showing who he is and what he is a big part of it. But you also need to keep in mind there might be people looking at Miles Robinson as well.
Yes. Yeah, you've got Miles Robinson. When George Bello gets healthy, if he regains form,
people are going to wait and see a little bit about his health, and that's going to be the thing for him. He's going to have to show it a little bit first, I think, over an extended period of time that he's healthy.
Shiva this morning says when she looks at Atlanta United right now, I see a solid and strong defensive team. Also now creating more chances. Still need to work on finishing. We need goal number 2 to close out games. I feel Tito needs to slow down and strikes at the right moment.
Okay, let's go through this, and then we'll take a break and get Doug on for predictions. Solid, strong defensive team, 100%. They are completely in sync with the way that they're going to defend. And you can bring in different pieces, doesn't matter. That is a credit to the coaching staff. It's a credit to the work Tata Martino did as well, laying the groundwork. That made it a lot easier for Frank de Boer. He comes in, and I think he has taken it to another level defensively. I think they're better defensively than they've ever been. We're now creating more chances. Second in the league in shots, 6th in shots on target, creating chances over the last few games. You're getting double digits consistently. You're good there. Still need to work on finishing. it's this thing that we always say at all times, like, need to work on it. You always work on it. Like, it's shooting free throws. It's chipping around the green. Tiger Woods is going to do that all day, every day. Everybody is going to work on finishing. Like, that's just something you do. It's just one of those things. So it needs to be better. Absolutely. You need that second goal to close out games. Completely agree. You're able to breathe better. You're able to just relax a little bit more. I don't feel like it's for a lack of chance creation in key moments or anything like that. It's just putting that second goal away. And when Maxime Crépeau goes full Spider-Man, it happens sometimes. But you had other chances too that you should have done more with. Thing about Tito. So Shiva said, I feel Tito needs to slow down and strike at the right moment. Tito brings you something different in this team. And in some games, that's really necessary. And, I thought Vancouver was one of them. I thought early on, when the game was still not up for grabs, but unsettled, Tito's energy was a really good thing for Atlanta United. I thought he was very fresh, very active, and it was a little contagious, and that was good. I don't want him to be something else. So I don't want him to become a Pity Martinez. He's not that player. It takes away what makes Tito special. Tito's just unpredictability. Tito's just bulldog attitude in the final third. You need that in certain spots with this team. He's very different than Gressel in that way, for example. Gressel is, I think, looking for that killer pass. Gressel is maybe a little more analytical, if we want to get to that level about it. Tito is more of, I'm going to put my head down and figure this out on the fly. Both can be very effective, sometimes in different situations. So I thought Tito and what he brought to the table was good here. And yeah, I have seen the comment. Like, I do think Tito is going to not hit the goalkeeper in the gut here very soon. I think he's going to find the shot that gets past the keeper. He's right there, and he's been performing well, and he's brought a lot of good things to the team here lately. So agree with a lot of what Shiva said, but I don't want Tito to change. I don't. I think now that might mean there's going to be some games or some moments that are not there for him. That's okay. I think what he is and what he brings is very valuable as is, and you don't want to take away the good elements of it to try to make him into something else. So Tito's going to be Tito, and I think that's a good thing for this team. Let's take a break right here. We'll get Doug Robertson on the line. We'll give you some predictions right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back, SDH, May 17th. It's time to get some predictions about Atlanta United and the New York Red Bulls. To do that, as always, Doug Robertson of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution joining us now. How are you, Doug? How's the travel been?
It's been all right. I love Vancouver, beautiful city, but I'm glad to be home.
What'd you think of BC Place?
I liked it.
I did too.
It's a nice little soccer stadium. It was my second time there. I was there 2 years ago. I think it's a perfect little soccer stadium, and it's got the easy to do roof, but they couldn't do it during the game, so that was kind of interesting.
Right. Whoever the meteorologist on staff was might have had a report put in their file.
Yeah, people kept telling me that the roof was open, and I kept looking up and seeing the gray of the sheets, and I said, no, the roof's not open. And then I realized, no, that's just heavy, low, gray clouds I was looking at. What I thought was the cloth was actually clouds.
It was an interesting night to have rain coming into a roofed stadium. Bad planning there. But, yeah, you can't close the roof once the game's open, so you just have to kind of deal with it. Good win for Atlanta United. I mean, you get another clean sheet, your 5 wins in a row. And now that you've had a little bit of time to breathe from it, reflecting back, how good of a win do you think it was?
Well, anytime you can go on the road and win is good. And anytime, especially, you can go to the West Coast on your longest trip of the year, and everything is a little bit goofy because it's a 10 o'clock start, which you're not used to. You're playing on turf that didn't look to be the greatest based upon the number of players that were slipping around. And you still, if not for a fantastic performance by the Vancouver goalkeeper, could have won as much as 5-0 or 5-1 without a good save by Guzan. So I thought it was a good performance.
Can you, I guess, Doug, put into perspective from your being there what this run of 5 matches has been like for you to view from your seat in the press box? What has it been like, and what are some of your larger takeaways from this run of matches where it's been clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet? Has anything surprised you about what's gone on this last handful of matches?
I've said on y'all's show a couple of times and on some others that I thought that Atlanta United, wouldn't score as many goals as they did last year, but would feel a little bit more in control of matches. And I think that's what you're seeing going on. And Atlanta United is still kind of learning how to do that right now. But they are doing it, and that's the important thing. They never won 5 consecutive games with shutouts. I don't think they won 5 consecutive games under Tata, much less with shutouts. So that's a huge step forward for the team. Leandro once described as last year under Tata, they were just kind of running around like crazy people all the time. And under Frank, it's a little more in control, a little more not professional isn't his word, but it's my word. A little more, I guess, professional looking than they have been the previous 2 years. They still got to get Joseph going. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit of an issue. Pitti is still kind of hit or miss. And Viaba Viaba's going to Viaba. He's never slowing down. I wish that he could. He would have had a goal on Wednesday if he could have just slowed down and rounded the goalkeeper instead of firing a cannonball right into his chest. But anyway.
So let's go to that professionalism word. I think some people, I know what you were getting at. I saw exactly where you were headed with it. But I think some people took it in very different ways with some of the other things that have been said about this team this year and being stricter and stuff like that. I don't think that had anything to do with it. They look is more organized and more structured. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, it's meant as a compliment. Both a compliment to to Frank, and it's a difference in style. It's not a knock on Tata or anything.
Right.
It's just that this year, if Atlanta United is leading 1-0 and there's 4 minutes left in the game and they have the ball, they're not going to go hell for leather at the opponent's goal. That they don't need to. And that's what they would do last year. This year, if they get the ball, they're going to knock it around and they're going to make the opponent chase, and they're fine with keeping it in their half if they have possession of the ball, and they're just going to grind out the clock and grind out the result. Whereas last year, it would have been a 50-yard diagonal to try to get to Almiron or Joseph in a 2-on-4 to try to get that other goal and then risk opening themselves up for a counterattack, which we saw like in the Dallas game last year.
When you look at the guys, the depth pieces that have been putting in minutes and then trying to get acclimated to things, when you look at a Justin Miram putting in a long run in Vancouver, when you look at a Dion Pereira getting in more minutes, I guess looking at those two and looking at a Breck Shea putting in quality minutes on that greasy surface in front of his ex-team and the fans that he was there, the guys that rotated in, what were some of your impressions about their match up there in Vancouver?
Yeah, the Breck Shea victory lap last week, that was pretty good. I wish Atlanta United could play FC Dallas and Stoke City in its next 2 games so Breck could complete the quartet. Now, he had a great game against Vancouver. And what was funny to me is one of the guys who lives there who covers the Whitecaps was telling me that Breck never played as well for them as he played for Atlanta United last night. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, Breck, he had a good game. I didn't think it was I know he's man of the match. I didn't think it was, one of the better performances by any individual I've seen. I think it's just a difference in the system and what he's being asked to do with Atlanta United. Justin Miram, I thought, struggled a little bit in the first half. And that's to totally be expected. It's his first start. It's really his most significant playing time with Atlanta United since he got acquired from Columbus last week. And I think some of that struggling was just trying to learn his teammates' movements and tendencies, or a couple of passes he made in which he thought his teammate was going to make the run, and they didn't make the run. And so all of that will just be learned. Flo Pogba, who is not a left fullback. I keep needing to say this over and over again. Flo Pogba is not a left fullback. Had a fantastic performance as a center back against Vancouver. And so now DeBoer knows if I need him because of yellow card suspensions, or if I just want to give somebody a rest, I can put Pogba in there and off we'll go.
Yeah, I think Pogba definitely improved the trust level in him. Now it's, okay, I don't have to really worry about giving Miles or Leandro a night off. Florentino showed he can do it. He can step in and give you that. It was a really good night for him. I think the Breck Shea performance was very good. The man of the match part of it, I think, was very funny and maybe by design.
Oh, you think? You think that maybe somebody in the front office for Atlanta United was sticking it to Vancouver a little bit? That doesn't sound at all like someone in particular in Atlanta United's front office.
Maybe sticking it to the Vancouver fans who were trying to boo Breck Shea out of the building for, I thought was really just kind of sad. Like, he didn't trash Vancouver at all on the way out.
No.
Not like many of his teammates last year did. Breck just seemed sad about the way everything fell apart last year. I was really disappointed in that
Breck's
reaction.
Fault that Vancouver stunk. It wasn't his fault that Vancouver stunk. And then at the end of the game, I don't think y'all could hear this, but so the Atlanta United interview area was right underneath the tunnel where the players came out, and there were Whitecaps, and it's also at the supporters section.
Yeah, it's at their supporters end.
Yeah, and they were just dropping F-bomb after F-bomb at Atlanta United players as they were leaving the field. It was a little bit embarrassing to me for Vancouver and for their fans.
I really like that. What you said about BC Place earlier and the feel of it, like, I really like it. I really like this fan base. They're going through a lot of things right now off the field, and I think it's bleeding over into general anger. And that has not been something that's been associated with the Whitecaps and their fan base. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on it because of everything else going on. I really think that Vancouver is one of the the stronger teams in the league in the fan base regard. But right now, they've got to address things and move things forward because it's hurting the atmosphere. It's hurting the team. I think it's hurting the team on the field. I mean, I don't know if you heard it, Doug. On Monday, Mark Dos Santos spoke with local radio, and they asked him about the protests that have been going on. And you kind of had to feel for Dos Santos because he did talk about how, it has affected the players. They want to perform for the fans. They want the fans to be proud. And when they see them, get up and walk out in the 35th minute and they hear how quiet it was in the first half on Wednesday, it has an effect. And it's a shame because I think Dos Santos is trying to build something for the long haul, but there's just a lot of weird clouds going on right now with the Whitecaps.
Yeah. And that was a good weather metaphor.
Yes, that was by design. Yes, that rain was intentional. That was
by design. But it made my heart feel sunshine.
I came back around and eased into it and found it, and it worked. It was like a Tito Villalba dribbling run. It happened, it worked, I take it, and I said I planned on it.
You powered through it, and you came out the other side.
Yes. I'm trying to live like Tito these days. Let's look ahead to the opponent on Sunday, New York Red Bulls, coming off of a full week's rest. They are loaded and ready for bear, and they are talking about how big of a match this is. How difficult is it going to be for Atlanta United on Sunday?
It's going to be hugely difficult. This is Ace Stadium along with Yankee Stadium, in which Atlanta United has really, other than the playoffs last year, I should say, during the regular season, has never played well. I don't know what it is about the place. I don't think they've gotten a win in the regular season there. I know they got a draw the first year, I think it was, and then they got played off the pitch last year. Red Bulls are below the red line right now, I think, but they have won 3 of 4. They would like nothing more than, I would think, than to get some revenge on Atlanta United for getting drubbed in the playoffs last year. I think they like nothing more than to climb back above the red line, particularly as some other teams in the East continue to struggle. They need to make up some ground now. It's going to be a great game, I think. It's going to be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. And I love that stadium, too. Red Bull Stadium is a really nice stadium. They're having some attendance issues right now. They're having to kind of curtain off the top of their stadium, which is sad for them because they are a fine franchise.
And, I mean, you're anticipating an exciting match, and I know that with the rotated side that Atlanta's going to be putting out there, knowing what the Red Bulls are going to want to do when it comes to pressing and trying to press the opponent out of the building. I mean, at 4-5-2, you look at them and they're 500 at home at 3-3 after having to go through a Champions League experience, much like Atlanta United. So you're looking at a wide open game instead of something where it's going to be a little closer to the vest just because of Atlanta United having played all of these matches in this short period of time, going up against a Red Bulls team that hasn't, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see if Red Bulls press. They didn't press in the playoffs last year. They got killed by every pundit and every supporter for not doing so. So then you think naturally, well, they're going to overcorrect and they're going to press like they did in that regular season game last year when they just destroyed Atlanta United. But then you start thinking, well, if they do that though, it's going to open a lot of space, and Atlanta United loves it when teams press them because then they can take advantage of that space. And then they look at Atlanta United and how kind of professional they're grinding out results now. So do they want to risk it? So I don't know. If I'm Armis, I think I go back to doing what we do best, and that's pressing with some effort. And I think Atlanta United is going to expect that. I think it's going to be a really bitter, chippy but fun game.
What do you think about Chris Armis as a manager?
I think that he's done a pretty good job. He stepped into a difficult situation. With Marsh leaving and he got promoted, but it's always a weird thing in season when you get promoted and you're taking over the team. He did everything right, led him to the Supporter Shield, and then he made that one bad decision to not press Atlanta United in the playoffs, and they got rolled over and paid for it since then. It seems like they still had a hangover recently about that, especially the way they got drubbed in the Champions League too. And he he was on the hot seat for a little bit until they won three of these past four. So, we'll see if Atlanta United defeats them again. That hot seat may get warmed up a little bit, but if Red Bulls bounce back and win, then I think he's probably going to be okay, and Red Bulls will right the ship and get above the playoff line.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up being okay. It's interesting, though, and going back to what you were saying about the strategy before we get into predictions from the Red Bull side of it, I'm with you, and I think that's generally the conversation when it comes to pressing teams is it's very hard for them to be something else. They kind of have to do what they do because it's not a style that really lends itself to being flexible. Like we're seeing Atlanta United win games with 70% possession, win games with 45% possession. Red Bulls win games in the same way, and they don't really have that alternative.
Yeah, that's the big change. Yeah, that's the big change between Armas and Marsh.
I think Armas is trying to find the alternative. Right.
Yeah, he wanted to have a back plan, so to speak, whereas Marsh didn't really care about that.
Agree. And I think Red Bull Global is kind of in this, like, we're going to be that pressing team. That's what we do. If you're going to go down that road, you have to be the best pressing team, period, because you don't have as many different alternatives. And Armas is trying to find something. I don't know if he's going to. I think they're going to press. I think they're going to make it difficult for Atlanta on Sunday. Let's see how difficult when we get into these predictions. Make sure you are voting on the Jay Bailey 86 poll on Twitter, the Bailey Daily, presented by Steve Apolinsky and Apolinsky and Associates. We'll be back with a tailgate show presented by Apolinsky and Associates very soon at the Bins. Not quite yet. No tailgating at Red Bull Arena on Sunday. John, what's your prediction for Sunday?
I'm going to go a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
I just think that in the combination of Red Bulls pressing, Atlanta United trying to maintain possession, the legs that are going to be out there, I think that this is the end of a really compressed stretch, and so I think that Atlanta United is going to try to slow the match down and take their opportunities when they can. I think that Red Bulls probably get one off a set piece, probably somebody like Shatkowski, and I'll go with Joseph getting one, so I'll go with a 4-point week and Atlanta United in a 1-1 draw.
Not all draws are made the same. Are you feeling good after this draw?
Most certainly. Yeah, okay. I'm feeling quite well after this one, that you have shown different ways to get results either shared or full, and I think that there's a lot of optimism going forward, especially after this section of compression. So I'll go 1-1 draw, and you're feeling good about it.
Okay, a good 1-1 draw according to John. Doug, what are you thinking?
I think a 0-0 draw. The rare 0-0 draw.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think Atlanta United is going to sit back and try to absorb a lot of the pressure. And Atlanta United is creating some scoring chances, but they're just not putting them away. And it's to the point now where it's not really an anomaly. It seems just kind of be what's happening this season. Things are reverting to form after everything worked so well last season. So I think that kind of continues. But I think Guzan's shutout streak reaches whatever 456 plus 90 is, 546 minutes, which would be the longest in MLS this season. As soon as he passes, I think it's 499 by Stefan, who said that earlier this year. And Atlanta United gets the point and should feel good about itself.
Okay, another good draw, scoreless this time from Doug. Jarrett chimes in with a 3-2 prediction, win for Atlanta. Break the Red Bulls press. Some of those chances that are missing go in. Red Bulls give them trouble, but Atlanta pulls it out. 3-2 would be a wild one. I don't know if I'm ready for a wild one at the end of this crazy week, but we'll see. This is a tough one. This is a tough one to call because Red Bulls are going to be really up for this, and they've had a whole week to prepare. I do think I agree with Doug. I think they go back to what they do best, and I think they press. They don't try to overcomplicate it. It's the right play in this game against a team that's tired. You want to press them and make life difficult for them. I think Atlanta, though, with that cohesion, with that organization, that they're able to deal with the press a little bit better than they have in the past. And I don't think the Red Bulls are quite as good at it as they used to be. Losing Tyler Adams hurts. I'm going 1-0 again, win for Atlanta. They break the press one time. Red Bulls really don't generate much. The shutout streak continues, and it's another 1-0 win for Atlanta United. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, you two are pulling away when it comes to stats and everything. So,
who's got 2 out of 3 on the predictions? Who's got 2 out of 3 exact on the predictions?
Me?
All right, Arn Anderson. I'm not one to toot my own horn, but toot.
Toronto and Vancouver, yes.
The Minnesota Wrecking Crew over there.
I will try to be. I will try to continue it. I'll take a 1-0 win and be very, very happy if we leave Red Bull Arena with 3 points. Be very happy with that. Doug, what do you have coming up over at the AJC between now and then?
Well, I think my Toronto thing is going to continue here at Atlanta United, because we were supposed to talk to the manager and players between 11 and 11:20 when training was done, and they are just now stepping onto the field. So I think I'm going to be here a while. I've just put my predicted 11 out in the internet sphere, and then really whatever I write for the next couple of days is going to be based upon whatever Frank says and Parkhurst and Guzan say here. We'll ask him about rotating players again, if that's the plan. I think you might see one of the traditional starters get rotated out in this game. I'm thinking maybe Rometty might come out.
Yeah, I'm right there with
you. With Nagby coming back in. But we'll see. It depends on, I think, a lot if they think Red Bulls are going to press. If Red Bulls are going to press a great deal, I think you could see Rometty in there in place of Lornoet, simply because Rometty is better in tight spaces than Jeff is. So anyway, ask Frank about that, and I'll be in beautiful Harrison, New Jersey on Sunday.
Same here. I will see you there, and we will reconvene for a Southern Fried Soccer podcast, because there will not be a plane to catch to get back home immediately. That sounds great, my man. All right. See you in New Jersey Sunday. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
We're going to take a break, come back, and finish things up. If you have any final questions, get them our way on Twitter at SoccerDownHere. We'll be right back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back, SDH Friday, normal time slot this for the only time this week, because it's been one of those weeks. Coming to you live from Macon, Georgia, the site of half of the GHSA Soccer State Championships. John and I will be on the call tonight starting at 5 o'clock. If you are so inclined, you can check it out over at nfhsnetwork.com. Also on the app. You can stream it on your phone, on a tablet, cast it to your TV, whatever you've got in mind to watch 2 games tonight and then 4 tomorrow starting at noon. Both games yesterday were good and interesting. No blowouts.
Yes.
It was a 2-0 win in the first one for Ace Charter out of Macon with a pretty good crowd there for a 5 o'clock
Pretty
kick.
good tailgating, too.
I was about to say, a great tailgate with outstanding burgers that were even better than the burger I had about 24 hours before, less than 24 hours before in Vancouver. The tailgate from Ace Charter in Macon beat the press box at BC Place. And the BC Place press box was not bad, but the burger was awesome. So thank you for taking care of us, Ace Charter. We really, really appreciate it.
Still have the jambalaya here in the hotel room.
See, there you go. Second game was back and forth, goes to extra time. GMC, Georgia Military Prep, wins it 2-1, coming from behind. A lot of fun with that one and a lot of crazy talking points coming out of it. So it was good.
Oof.
Expecting more of that today. We're on nfhsnetwork.com if you want to watch. Give everybody the reminder about our fantasy league, because this is a weird week. So you've got some work to do if you're managers in our league.
Yes. For someone like me who banked on a lot of 2-match players, right now I've had like 80-something points, and the only players that you can swap out are the ones that only have the 1 match that hasn't been played. So if you've booked players that have two match weeks, they're locked in. And so your solo players are the only ones that you can change. Go to the Jason Wright Agency Facebook page to join in. Thanks to everybody who's joined in so far. At Jason Wright with a WAGEN on Twitter to hop on the league. But once again, only players that you can swap are the ones that have the single games, because the players for the double matches, they've already been locked in, and you can't change them. Carlos Vela punched a 32 last night. If you captained him, yes, I did. Thank you very much.
You were feeling pretty good about that one then. Your schedule, and remember, lineups come out an hour before kick, and there's some players that you're going to want to keep an eye on that you might need to change out. Montreal, New England is the first match of the day. 1 o'clock kick from Stade Saputo. New England played midweek, but they played Chelsea in that exhibition charity match at Gillette Stadium. So make sure no injuries out of that. Make sure there's no concerns. It is Mike Lapper again on the sideline, not Bruce Arena. Montreal, Nacho Piatti returned to training this week. It might be a little too early for him. But Montreal and New England kick things off 1 o'clock. Real Salt Lake hosting Toronto at 3 o'clock. RSL, just they need a win in the worst way. They really, really need a win in the worst way. Toronto has to feel frustrated coming off of a 30-shot performance and goalkeeper going double-digit saves against you. They're going to be fired up, but I think RSL can take advantage of this. I really do. San Jose, Chicago is up next. It's an early kick from San Jose at Avaya Stadium. It's 12:30 local time, 3:30 Eastern. Chicago's been poor on the road, but I think their overall form is improving. San Jose, good run of form until the blip in New England last week. Can they bounce back? This match has a ton of questions in it for me.
Yep. Chicago 0-3-2 on the road, but with the addition of Gaetan, who had the big red suitcase next to his name if you were thinking of picking him up for fantasy. But since you've had Gaetan come in, they have had better form. Calvo at the back now, who was not treated like has not been treated like basura by his current coach.
No.
San Jose, you don't really know which one you're going to get in any given match. Are you going to get the one that completely and totally just thumps Sporting at home, or are you going to get the team that is exposed for being under a first-year head coach Matias Almeida? This one, to me, screams to be a lot of fun. I will once again readily admit that as a part of my fantasy roster, I have Calvo in here, but I'm debating changing him because the more I see this one, I'm thinking this one could really have a lot of goals attached.
A weird one. I have no idea where to go with that one at the moment. 7:30, Philadelphia at Talon Energy Stadium hosting the Seattle Sounders. It's a tough week for Seattle. They're at home on Wednesday. They come across the country to play in Philadelphia, who's been really, really good lately. I like the Union in this one. I do. I think Seattle might rotate their squad a little bit as well.
Yeah, and I think that Seattle puts up a tough fight here, but I just think that right now I'm not sold on Philadelphia long term in the season, but right now you're running through it pretty well, so I'll go with Philadelphia here.
I'm starting to buy a little stock in Philadelphia. I am. I'm intrigued by the Union. I think they're becoming a difficult team to beat, which is a good spot to be right now. And I think they're only going to get better as they go. 8 o'clock, Allianz Field, St. Paul, Minnesota. Minnesota United hosting Columbus Crew. Columbus, outside of that Galaxy game, it's a lot of Minnesota didn't look good against Chicago. Can they bounce back at home? I think they do. I think they get goals to show for it, too.
Yeah, and I think that there's a couple of goals on the board for Minnesota here, so I'm leaning toward swapping out Calvo for someone defensively for Minnesota in this match because we've seen what Allianz can be for them. Can they do it against a tough keeper who's been known to stand on his head? That, for me, is the question.
Talking about keepers standing on their head, Bill Hamid goes to Texas, BBVA Compass Stadium in Houston, Dynamo hosting DC United. DC rotated their squad a lot in the midweek, and he got a point to show for it. I think you'll see pretty much a first-choice lineup in Houston against the Dynamo. But I think the Dynamo are the better team. And I don't think Bill Hamid can make 13 saves again and keep a 0 on the board. I think DC can find some goals, but I think Houston can find more.
Yeah, and I think that this one, for me, this one could be one of the more interesting matches of the weekend on a bunch of different levels. But I think that Houston gets some goals on the board, and really, this one's another fun one that can be there if you're in front of your TV on that evening as one of the last matches that's going to kick off on Saturday.
8:30, Vancouver heads to Kansas City to face Sporting. Who knows who's on the field for Sporting? One of the craziest headlines / tweets I saw this week was to see that 2 players who were already out injured with knee injuries for Sporting now had arm injuries. One was a wrist, one was something else that they had to deal with. I mean, injured players are getting injured more in different places. That's how bad it is for Peter Vermes right now. I feel really bad for Peter and what he's trying to deal with. Vancouver, we talked about it a lot heading into that match on Wednesday. They're a work in progress. They are nowhere near where they want to be. Mark Dos Santos says they want to be a pressing team. They want to get to that. They don't have the pieces to do that right now. So they're trying to find other ways to get results. They've been getting some. I don't think they're a very expansive team going forward. That's good for Sporting in this one. I think they're going to be able to try to control the possession as best as they can with the pieces that are available. I think Sporting finds points here. I don't know if they find a full 3, but I don't think they lose this at home against Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm leaning in that direction just because I don't know who's going to score for Vancouver outside of Ali Adnan, and don't let him ever take a penalty kick anymore. But yeah, I'm just looking at it as more of a default answer because I'm looking at what Vancouver can't do as opposed to what Sporting can. So that's why I'm leaning toward draw, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were full points there.
4 matches on Sunday. It starts in Orlando as FC Cincinnati comes to town. Orlando has left players at home, so you would expect to see Nani. You would expect to see Other guys return to the lineup on Sunday for James O'Connor. Cincinnati looked very different under their caretaker manager, Jan Dame. Are they going to be able to grow from that? I kind of think they can. And I look at Orlando with all of the rotation that it's going to take them some time to figure out, okay, now we're back to this group playing. All right, let's rebuild these relationships. Oh, wait a minute, Cincinnati just strung together 12 passes. I feel like Cincinnati can go into Orlando and get the win here.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I look at this as what somebody can't do as opposed to what somebody can. And I'm just looking at at least the short-term calm that has been instituted with DeMay in charge. And Orlando, I just still have too many questions. So I will go with Cincinnati here kind of by default.
7:30, the rematch, FC Dallas hosting LAFC. Dallas has to stand up in this one. I think this is a huge match for Luchi Gonzalez and FC Dallas to stop the slide. I don't know if they can. I just don't know if they can against LAFC. I don't know if a draw is good enough. I kind of feel like that's what happens here. A 1-1 is where my head's at. But I don't know if that's good enough for Dallas at this stage.
Yeah, I'm thinking that you'll see some of the younger guys for Bob Bradley and LAFC. So that to me means that there may be less goals on the board than what we're used to. And so because of the travel, because of the quick turnaround, because of the home and home, I'll go with shared results. I'll go with 1-1 and not really be satisfied with what I'm seeing out of Dallas right now.
And to conclude the weekend, LA Galaxy at home against the Colorado Rapids. Connor Casey's Colorado Rapids have continued to score goals, and they were doing that before. They're still doing it. They've gotten 2 goals in each of the matches they've played under Casey. Defensively, they've been bad. Can they go to LA and get a result? A lot of this, well, there's still something hanging over the LA Galaxy's heads right now. And they talked about it last night on the broadcast and part of it that I got to hear about. Nothing has been ruled on when it comes to Zlatan Ibrahimovic and the attempted chokeslam on Sean Johnson.
Correct.
Jeff Carlisle mentioned at midweek that there was nothing in the discipline report there, which is typical because the Galaxy didn't play midweek, so it's not going to be in the midweek announcement. It would be here. Taylor Twellman on the broadcast last night said that he had heard it was going to be 2 games, but it was under appeal. Does it stay at 2 games? Does it become a game? I don't think Zlatan Ibrahimovic plays Sunday night. The Galaxy are still good enough to win that without Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but that indecision and that confusion, maybe it opens a door for Colorado. I feel like it's a 3-1 kind of game. I think the Galaxy find a good number of goals here, but I don't think they get a clean sheet.
Yeah, I was thinking something along the lines of a 2-1, pulling a goal off the board because Zlatan's not there. So I think Galaxy get the win. I have Steris starting in fantasy, and I'll go 2-1. I'm not as brave as you are with 3 on the board, but I'll go with 2 on the board.
Lots of interesting numbers on the board that has been posted over at myprizepicks.com. If you haven't signed up yet, use the code SDH when you sign up. 25% of your initial deposit will get matched, and you get a free 2-pick $25 play, kind of gets you started. If you want to use that free play this weekend, there are some very, very intriguing options on the board as I'm sitting here looking at it right now. Carlos Heel, 2.5. That means if he gets an assist, a goal, 3 shots, he's over that number. That's a low one, and he's capable of going above that. That's one that I'm looking at that grabs my attention straight away. Pozuelo, 6.5. Don't know how I feel about that one. Danny Houston, 4. Nemanja Nikolic is on a 4 in that Chicago-San Jose game. Really depends on if you feel like there's going to be goals there. Angelo Rodriguez is on 4.5. That means if he gets a goal, he's above that number against Columbus. I kind of like that one. Jossie's Artist is 2.5. That's a low number for Jossie's Artist. Can he find anything for the Crew? It's been wildly inconsistent for him. Raul Ruiz-Diaz, 6.5 for Seattle. Christian Nemeth for Kansas City, 5.5. That's a teaser number.
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
right
really tough one. Johnny Russell at 5, Freddie Montero 4.5 for Vancouver and Kansas City. Mauro Manotas at 7 for the Dynamo, and he scored again midweek.
I'd still go under on Freddie Montero, though.
Freddie Montero, I would probably go under on him, but I don't know if I like it enough to pick it. And this is my gut reaction from looking at this board for the first time this morning. I like the over on Heel. I like the under for Raul Ruiz-Diaz. And would I go with a third one, or would that be my pick? That would be my suggested free 2-pick roll, the $25 free roll you get when you sign up and you use SDH as your code. Heel over, Ruiz-Diaz under is what I'm looking at. The scoring chart is up there. If you have questions, there's a great FAQ. It's a local company based out of Atlanta, Prize Picks, myprizepicks.com. There is an app for iOS. There's an app coming for Android. It's daily fantasy, made really super easy. I like the over-under way of thinking with it. And there's other sports too. You're feeling squirrely about the NBA, Major League Baseball, PGA Championship, MMA, esports, National Hockey League, all kinds of stuff, and you can mix and match across sports. So if there's only one MLS pick you really like, and for me it's kind of that Carlos Heel one, that's the one that I'm really digging, maybe you pair it up with Steph Curry this weekend. Maybe you pair it up with your favorite National Hockey League player who's in the playoffs right now. I don't know.
Well, and here's something else. Don't forget to follow them on social media and set alerts for them on your Twitter, because what they will do is an hour or so before a game starts, they may rearrange a number, and for a certain period of time, they'll lower a number or they'll raise a number, and they'll sit there and see, okay, well, here's what's going on. Because they lowered, they had like a flash notification on Zlatan and lowered his number by 2.5, but they only did it for 20 minutes. So follow them on Twitter and then set your alerts for them. So if you've got your lineup set and then you see something that's more intriguing with one of their flash notifications, you can rearrange things as well.
Yes. Big shout out to the team over at My Prize Picks. Make sure you're following them. Make sure you get those notifications going for when they offer those types of things. And they do that across all sports. So really interesting way to do daily fantasy. I like it. I was never a giant daily fantasy fan. I'd sample things and try things, but the way that they do it with Prize Picks, it just makes complete sense to me. It's daily fantasy.
So you're down?
I am down with My Prize Picks, absolutely. Let's finish up the Twitter timeline before we go and rest our voices before more high school soccer tonight. The Colonel, and I did not hear this on the broadcast because, again, I was all over the place last night. Taylor Twellman and the Colonel heard a whistle before that second LAFC goal, which was disallowed and then waved on. So if Twellman was right and he blew the whistle before the ball crossed the line and allowed the goal, if he blew the whistle before the ball crossed the line and allowed the goal, the referee should be suspended because you can't do that. Once the whistle blows, the whistle's dead. And if the ball didn't cross the line, then it can't be a goal. If he did that, then whatever assessment that the referee goes through, he's going to fail it in a really big way. If he didn't blow the whistle, then you can judge the play. And that's why they're telling ARs to keep the flag down. That's why the directive is what it is. You don't want to kill the play before you know that it's right or wrong. It is the exact same as the NFL went through on the fumble rule. You don't want to kill the play before you know it's done. I didn't hear the broadcast, so I didn't hear if there was a whistle, and I didn't hear Twellman's comments. If the whistle blew, the referee really messed this up in a massive, massive way. If he motioned or did something, that's different. That's getting back to Fotis Pazakos looking like he's about to point to the spot, kind of pointing in that general direction, but not blowing a whistle for Atlanta and San Jose last year. and the play continued, and Miguel Almiron scored, and everybody was confused. If you blew a whistle, play's dead. You can't take a whistle back. So I don't know. I'm judging from the way he handled it, the referee did, that he didn't blow the whistle. But if it was heard, and if Dallas heard it, or if he blew it and then he tried to say he didn't, that's going to be a huge issue for Pro when you're judging his performance, because you cannot do that. That's a big problem.
Let's see what else on the Twitter.
One of you Johns with no H's, J Nams this time.
Yeah, J
chimes
Nams.
in. With recent signings of older players like Merrim, Shea, Pogba, and even Pitti, do you think we are still looking to make huge investments on youth like with Barco, or is the plan now to develop mainly from our academy? All of the above.
Yes,
I don't think any of them are stopping anything. You are going to continue to develop from the academy, because you are investing a large sum per year, and you invested a large sum to get it started. And you're investing, I think, in continuing to evolve with that. And again, I will point you to the presentation that Tony Annan gave. The team retweeted it as well, and it's on Atlanta United's YouTube page, from the Generation Adidas Cup, where he talked about the changes and the plan for individual development for George Bello. It's fascinating. And it's fascinating to see the level of just investment and time and thought that goes into developing players out of Atlanta United's academy. So that's not going to stop. If you have the opportunity to go get players like Ezequiel Barco, and now, I mean, he was just named into a list of ESPN's best players under the age of 21 around the world. You get a chance to go get those guys, and you're good with the price point, you're going to do that. Pitti is kind of in his prime to me. I wouldn't call him an older player, but Merrim, Shea, Pogba filled needs. And you got them at numbers that you're comfortable with. You got Justin Merrim for not much money. Most of his salary is going to be on the books of the Columbus Crew this year. You take it, you run, you get that extra depth, especially when you need it. Brek Shea, extra depth. He's had to be pressed into action more than maybe you thought early on in the season. Florentin Pogba was out of contract. You got him to see what he's going to turn into. We don't know what kind of salary he's on, but a player who's played in a lot of leagues around the world, you think he would come in and be a good presence. And by all accounts, he's a great presence for this team with his energy in the group. One thing I've noticed is a guy like Florentin Pogba, 28, who's played professionally in France and Turkey with his national team, kind of taking a Dion Pereira under his wing a little bit. Those two hang out a lot. That's great to add a player like that who is completely comfortable taking young guys under their wing. You love to have those guys in your team. So you need all of those things to be successful. When you are one-dimensional in the way you construct a team, you limit the potential success you have. Because if you're only going to develop from your academy better be the best ever. Even Barcelona went out and added to the players that they got from La Masia that they developed internally. If you just go out and spend big money, your scouting department better be better than any scouting department that's ever existed, and also be able to see into the future, because you can't. You can sign the right guy at the right price at the time, and they don't develop, and it can be completely out of your control. And you're not just going to go get older players too, because then you don't have any continuity. You don't have any consistency. You don't have players who know your system and know what your club is all about. You need all of it, and you need, when you go get an older player, they have to be able to fit into your club's identity. When you develop young players, you want to develop them to a level that can fit in with the best of young players from around the world, but also the veterans who are in the team. It all has to fit, and I think Atlanta's done a good job of making a Justin Merrim fit in a team with, potentially when he's healthy, a George Bello and a Pitti Martinez and an Ezequiel Barco. That's where you want to be. You want to have all aspects covered.
A couple of Brek Shea thoughts to finish up. Mark_Earhart, Five Stripes fan, says, some folks saying Shea's Vancouver performance driven by playing next to Pogba. I know players can influence each other, but I think that's a bit much. Give the man his due. Thoughts?
I don't even understand why anybody would say that. It doesn't make any sense. Like, did he get better by playing next to a player making his first MLS start? That doesn't make any sense. Florentine Pogba is a player with experience around the world, but a player who was not a star in Ligue 1. He played 60-plus matches over 6 years with Saint Etienne. Good player. Not a mega superstar. It's his presence isn't going to elevate Brek Shea's play. Brek Shea's play is not going to elevate Florentine Pogba's play. They're both professionals and they're both veterans and they're both good professionals. I liked that they were in sync that quickly, having never played in a competitive match together. But I don't think one elevated the other. That's a reach. Brek was good.
And then Turner the Red Fox Lab, who by all indications is a very good boy. And
of course, no. Turner is very good.
His mom, Michelle, not a lab.
No.
So LGP made quite a few mistakes at the start of the season. Nobody booed him. How come LGP gets a pass from the fans, but Shea continues to get booed? Booing your own coach and players is unacceptable, in my opinion.
I've never been a fan who was comfortable booing my own team. That was just my personality. I'm not going to say it's wrong because things happen. I think there was a very quick judgment made, and that was unfair because this was a club coming off of a championship. This was a club that had a lot of changes and had injuries early on. And this was a club that, quite frankly, was not playing nearly as bad as some people wanted to make it out to be. And that's the part that I have a problem with. Some of the narratives about dumpster fire and everything was terrible and all that, well, it wasn't. Was it good? Was it as good as it is now? No, it wasn't. But to go from where you were to where that was, it shocked some people. And I think it scared some people, and they reacted in a way that was frankly surprising. I don't think there was anything about Atlanta's play early on to elicit boos. I really, truly don't. Really quick snap judgments were made, and that's a shame. I think that's changed. That's good. I don't know why Brek Shea's still getting the reaction he is. Leandro Gonzalez-Perez didn't deserve to be booed. He did make some big mistakes. He made some really massive mistakes. And we've talked about it. And I've talked about how strongly I feel about LTP being one of the best center backs in this league for 3 years now. He still is. Has he had his best season out of the three so far this year? No, he hasn't. He's made some mistakes that stand out because you don't expect them from him. But he's bounced back because he's a strong player. And he's been very, very good. And he was very, very good in Vancouver. He shouldn't have been booed, just like Brek shouldn't have been booed, just like I thought the boos, if they were aimed at the team as a whole or the coaching staff or whatever, I don't think the play was deserving of boos. For me, that is a nuclear option. And a couple games into a season following a championship is nowhere near a nuclear option.
Charlie Traylor wants to chip in and buy Brek a bag of at Cape Cod chips so he has one on his shoulder every match. He was exactly what we needed that night.
I like that. He can you can mix up the chips. Brek might be a Sun Chips kind of guy.
Get him the old Eveready battery and just put it on his shoulder. Come on, I dare you to knock it off. I dare you.
What's that from? I don't know that.
Sorry, commercial, dated reference commercial before your time.
Okay, just making sure, because I was like, what?
Robert Conrad put a battery on his shoulder.
When did this commercial air? Please tell me.
Oh, God, it was in the 80s. Robert Conrad, during his time when he was on practically every show on NBC, was a battery spokesperson. He says, it might have been Duracell or Eveready or somebody like that. And he puts a 9-volt or a C on his shoulder and says, come on, I dare you. Knock it off. I dare you.
Wow. Okay. So you're making 80s commercial references on SDH today. In our very quick wrap up in Vancouver, I was referencing Italian ice hockey goaltenders to try to explain Maxime Crépeau's save because we watched way too much TSN in Vancouver. The World Hockey Championships are a thing, and It's the weirdest format. Like I was trying to get my head around it, and Mike was explaining the way like the World Championships works in hockey and how convoluted it is. Like it's yearly, and it's like a World Cup, except the NHL playoffs are still going on, so it's not the best players. It's players from teams who were eliminated. But then you have two teams this time that were promoted into the World Championships. Great Britain, who hasn't won a game since the 60s, and Italy. And Nick Lefy, your Italian goaltender, Andreas Bernard, he needs a vacation. Because there was a game where he made 62 saves. You thought Bill Hamid had a rough night midweek. 62 saves. That's insanity. He still conceded like 4 or 5 goals, I think, in that one. It was kind of funny just to see the World Championships and how big of a deal it was on TSN. The other thing about TSN that I do want to bring it back to a soccer conversation as we try to finish up. I loved the preview coverage they were weaving into their sports centers that were not with an ER but an RE, because
Sports Century, yes.
Yes. I love the way they were weaving in Women's World Cup coverage into that. And it wasn't just the Canadian team either. A great little 2-minute feature on Fran Kirby of the English national team. Stuff like that to give you a sense of the whole tournament. Really, really well done by TSN. I thought that was great. And I'd love to see that type of stuff here in the U.S. because I feel like the coverage leading into the Women's World Cup is completely dominated by the U.S. women's national team. And it's hard to know a lot about the teams that they're going to play. We're going to try between now and the kickoff of the tournament to dig deeper into that with some of the Women's Soccer Weekly podcasts and get you ready for this tournament because I think it's going to be the best Women's World Cup of all time. The level of play has improved so much. I'm excited about players like Fran Kirby, Vera Boquette, so many top players around the world that are not American anymore. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll be able to get you ready for the whole tournament, not just the U.S. matches.
1978, Robert Conrad in various Eveready battery commercials jumps off of the men's vault in a gymnastics outfit, dares you to knock a 9-volt off of his shoulder, and then in a subsequent commercial is driving a dirt bike around a course, stops, takes off his helmet, and dares you to knock the C battery off of his right shoulder.
All right. Yep, I don't remember those at all. I got nothing. Tafka wants Tito to learn to chip on the breakaway. I'm with that. That would be a good one. Miguel Almiron had that move down, nearly pulled it off in the first game in club history, but he did pull it off against the Galaxy later that year in the 4-0 win at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. He pulled it off really well for Lanús, I believe, in Argentina as well. So, Tito, okay, watch some clips of Miguel, add a little variety into that breakaway move, but I'm cool with that. But yeah, I want Tito to be Tito. If he can add a little bit of piece to it without slowing down, I'm cool with that. I will finish with John Nason saying that Baldomero Toledo was inserting himself into the game way too often Wednesday. That offside bizarreness, the prolonged VAR review of Gressel Adnan, just 2 instances. Referees are best when you don't know they're there. I don't 100% subscribe to they're best when you don't know that they're there. Because sometimes
games, you have to assert your position, and if you have to do it, then you do it. I mean, sometimes a game lends itself not to necessarily being apart and letting it flow if it's done cleanly, but if things are starting to get out of control, then early on you have to assert, you have to assert who you are there on the pitch to make sure things don't get out of control.
Yeah, and I'm not even one that would say, referee has to call it tight early to keep control. Not necessarily. Like that's the thing about refereeing that's so difficult. And I know we talk about referees a lot. And look, we're not the only soccer show in the world to do that. It's common around the world to talk about the referees. I think sometimes, we're maybe a little too harsh, and I think in general the conversation around referees can be too harsh. So we try to find the positives as well. And managing a match is the hardest thing, because it's easy to sit there and have a sheet of rules in front of you and say, that is a foul, that is not a foul, that is a foul, that is not a foul. Okay, cool. Now do that while you're running 10, 15 miles. Now do that while the speed of the match speeds up, slows down. Now do that when you have players yelling at you in 5 different languages and managing their personalities. Managing a match is an art form. It's not something you can sit there and say, if you do X and then you do Y and then you do Z, the match will not get out of hand. You can't do that. You have to feel it. And the best referees feel the game. I don't think Baldomero Toledo had a feel of that game at all on Wednesday. It was weird. There were weird things that happened more often than they should have in terms of late calls, playing advantage, then bringing it back. The weird thing on that set pieces in general, there was a lot of conversation, just lots of weird things. It felt very jagged, the match did, and Toledo was a factor in that. Sometimes a referee like Alan Kelly, and I'll give Alan Kelly a ton of credit in terms of managing games because he'll do it in different ways. Sometimes he has to blow the whistle a lot, and sometimes you see him a lot because he has to do a lot. Other times he'll say something off the ball to a player to tell them to, hey, dial it down a little bit. I got you. Calm down. Things like that go a long way. I think Kelly does a really, really good job of that. I think Jair Marufo does a really good job of that. I just want to continue to see them given the resources to succeed. I love what Pro is doing, putting the stuff out there. Go check out the video that Mike Conti shared this morning to get a glimpse behind the scenes of VAR. That's released every week. It's fascinating to me to hear those discussions and see the way that they think about it. It's a big help, and Pro should be commended for doing it. I want to continue to see the level of refereeing improve, just like we talk about wanting to see the level of play improve. If the referees continue to get better, that level of play can continue to improve. We'll see what we get this weekend across the league and at Red Bull Arena on Sunday. We've got some high school finals before that, though. You want to run down and let people know what schools are playing, at least where they want to hear you and I call it, over the next couple of days.
Right. NFHS Network, NFHSnetwork.com. Download their Apple version of the app if you feel so inclined to listen to high school soccer championships. Today, for us, it is the 4A girls final at 5 o'clock. It is St. Pius, your 2017 state champ, going up against Flowery Branch. And they are chasing after. We have some
listeners who have St. Pius ties. So, just saying, 5 o'clock.
There you go, 5 o'clock. And then 7:30, it is the AA Boys Championship with Union County coming out of a very tough mountain region. And they're going up against Thomasville, who are in their first state finals since 2010. And that was their last title, by the way. They knocked off Putnam County in the semifinals by the score of 6-1 in Thomasville. So St. Pius and Flowery Branch, it's your Quad A girls at 5, and it is the AA boys at 7:30. Union County and Thomasville. And I will be talking to the head coach of Union County on the bus as they're traveling south to get as much intel as humanly possible.
Nice. And then we've got tomorrow 2 Fayette County matchups early on. We have Vidalia girls coming to Macon. Maddie Owen has over 90 goals this season.
Yes.
I can't wait to see this. It's going to be fun. So tomorrow, all day, NFHS Network. Today, 5 and 7:30 are your kick time. St. Pius in the 5 o'clock game. And Sunday, for me, I'll be heading up to Red Bull Arena in the morning. We'll be on the air on 92.9 The Game at 4:30 with the Five Stripes Countdown, 5 o'clock or just afterwards kickoff. It is an FS1 broadcast. Could be a little bit of pregame. Kickoff might be a little bit more like a 5:15. And we will have a full-time report for an hour after the final whistle there, and then I'll hop on with Southern Fried Soccer as well with Doug Robertson and give my thoughts to him afterwards. And then we'll be back on Monday. It will not be a normal time slot show on Monday. It will be an evening show. It will be the Extravaganza with Soccer Over There and Nick Alifi from 6 to 8-ish on Monday evening. And then we'll be back on a normal schedule for Tuesday, for Wednesday, for Thursday. Friday might be tricky because of travel again as we head to Salt Lake. So we will keep you posted. Yes, that is the life at the moment. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for all the tweets, all the conversation this week. It's been a lot of fun, and we do this because of you guys. So thank you for everything. We will be back on Monday evening, 6 o'clock, to wrap up everything from Red Bull Arena. It's going to be a wild weekend in the Atlanta United universe with a rivalry match against the Red Bulls, who, man, seeing some of the comments out of New York, this is a very important game to the Red Bulls, so it should be a fun one on FS1 and 92.9 The Game. Talk to y'all on Monday. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha Robert Conrad, y'all.